Hey up, middle at YT. Today, episode 16 of the history as to the St Mary's Church of England Young Men's Association. St Mary's YMA, as they were usually referred to in the local press, played most of their common, where games were frequently interrupted by pedestrians insistent on exercising their right to roam. More important, cup games were played at either the County Cricket Ground in Northlands Road or around in St Mary's Road. The club was originally known as St Mary's Young Men's Association Football Club. As I said, they were usually abbreviated St Mary's YA, before adopting the name Southampton St Mary's when the club joined the Southern in 1994. For the start of their league career, Saints signed several new players and professional contracts, including Charles Baker, Alf Little, and Fred Hollands. Was renamed Southampton Football Club. Southampton won the Southern League Championship for 3 years running between 1897 and 1901, 1903 and 1904. During this time, they moved to a newly built £10,000 stadium called The Dell to the northwest of the city centre in 1898. Although they would spend the next 103 years there, the future was far from certain in those early days. The club had to rent the premises first before they could afford to buy the stadium in the early part of the 20th century. The club reached the first of their 4 FAs in 1900. On that day, they went down 4-0 to Bury, and 2 years later, they would suffer a similar fate at the hands of Sheffield. They were beaten 2-1 in a replay of a 1902 final. Reaching those finals gave Southampton recognition, even internationally. In 9, an Athletic Bilbao representative who played for Atletico Madrid travelled to Southampton and purchased 50 Saints shirts and Atletico Madrid. The early Southampton popularity is the reason why both Spanish clubs' colours shirts became red and white as they are nowadays. That's an interesting fact for you there. After World War I, the Saints joined the newly division in 1920, which split into South and North sections a year later. The 1922-23 season was a unique even season. 14 draws and 14 defeats for 42 points, or 1 point per game. Goals for and goals against statistics were also equal, and the team finished dead on mid-table. In 1925 and 1927, they reached the semi-finals of the FA Cup, losing 2-0 and 2-1 to Sheffield United and Arsenal respectively. Saints were briefly forced to switch home matches to the ground of their local rivals Portsmouth at November 1940, leaving an 18-foot crater flooded the pitch. That was a ridiculous aim. Promotion was narrowly missed in 1947-48, when they finished in 3rd place, a feat repeated the following season, despite having an 8-point lead with 8 games to play. Whilst in 1949-50, they were denied promotion by 0.06 of a goal, missing out on 2nd place to Sheffield United. In the 1948-49 and 1949, Charlie Wayman rattled in 56 goals. Then relegation in 1953, Saints sliding back to the Division 3 South. 1960 for Saints to regain 2nd Division status, with Derek Reeves plundering 39 of the champions' 106 league goals. April 1963, a crowd of 68,000 at Villa Park saw them lose 1-0 to Manchester United in the FA. Don't ask me why it was at Villa Park. It just was. In 1966, Ted Bates' team were promoted, with Martin Chivers scoring 30 of the Saints' 85 league goals. For the following campaign, 43 goals in his first season. Saints stayed among the elite for 8 years, with the highest finishing position being 7th of 59, and again in 1970-71. These finishes were high enough for them to qualify for the Intercities Fairs Cup in 1969-70, out in round 3 to Newcastle United, and its successor the UEFA Cup in 1971-72, when they went out in the first round. In December 1973, Bates stood down to be replaced by his assistant, Laurie McMenemy. The Saints first victims of a new 3-down relegation system in 1974. Under McMenemy's management, the Saints started to rebuild. Peter Osgood, Jim McCalloy, don't know how you pronounce that, sorry, Jim Steegers, who was captain. And in 1976, Southampton reached the FA Cup final, playing Manchester United at Wembley, and beat 1-0 with the goal from Bobby Stokes. The following season, they played in Europe again in the Cup Winners' Cup, where they reached round 3 and lost 2-3 on aggregate to Anderlecht. In 1977-78, captained by Alan Ball, the Saints finished as runners-up in the second division. The first division. They finished comfortably in 14th place in their first season back in the top flight. The following season, they returned to Wembley in the final of the League Cup, where they acquitted themselves well, losing 3-2 to Nottingham Forest. In 1980, made his biggest signing, capturing the European Footballer of the Year, Kevin Keegan, for the largest number of goals in an FA Cup game, where he scored 9 for Bournemouth against Margate in an 11-0 win. McDougall's strike partner at Bournemouth and Norwich City, Phil Boyer, club stalwart Mike Channon, and Charlie George. And in 1980-81, they scored 76 goals, finishing then, at that time, their highest league for 2 months, taking top spot on the 30th of January 1982, staying there, apart from 1 week, until the 3rd of April, but a disappointing end to the season, in which Keegan was hampered by a back injury. Southampton won only 2 of their last 9 games and finished 7th. The winners of a wide-open title race were Keegan's old club, Liverpool, who were crowned champions in the final day of the season. Keegan scored 26 of Southampton's 72 goals that season, but was then sold to Newcastle. Southampton continued to progress under McMenemy's stewardship, and with the team, the England goalkeeper at the time, Nick Holmes, David Armstrong, striker Steve Moran, and Quick Wits reached their highest ever league finish as runners-up in 1983-84, 3 points behind champions Liverpool, as well as reaching the semi-final, where they lost 1-0 to Everton at the Highbury Stadium. Don't get why they're all playing at different stadiums, which aren't the stadium of either club. Leave that in the comment section if you know why. McMenemy then added experienced midfield Jimmy Case to his ranks. They finished 5th the following year. As a result of the Hazel disaster, all English clubs were banned from European competition. Had it not been for this, then Southampton would have qualified for the UEFA Cup. McMenemy left at the end of the 1984-85 season to be succeeded by Chris Nichol, who was sacked after 6 years in charge despite preserving the club's top flight status. He was in turn replaced by Ian Branfoot, who, until the end of the 1990-91 season, had been assistant manager to Steve Coppell at Crystal Palace. By this stage, a key player in Southampton lineup was Guernsey-born attacking midfielder or striker Matthew Letizia, who broke into the first team in the 1986-87 season. He was voted PFA Young Player of the Season and later made 8 appearances for the England team. He finally retired in 2002 at the age of 33. Another exciting young player to break into the Southampton team just after Letizia was Alan Shearer, who at the age of 17 scored a hat-trick against Arsenal in a league match in April. Shearer was a first-team regular by 1990 and stayed with Southampton until July 1992, when he was sold to Blackburn Rovers for an. Southampton were founding members of the Premier League in 1996. Southampton finished 17th with 38 league points. Avoiding relegation in the final weeks of the season did much to ensure that Saints and not Manchester City would achieve Premiership survival. As Manchester manager Graham Souness was brought in, signing foreign players such as Eagle Ostenstad and Isle Berkovic at Vidal in October. Charge, being replaced by Dave Jones, who had won the promotion to the Division 1 with Stockport County, as well as reaching the league. Avoided relegation. In 1999, Southampton were given the go-ahead to build a new 32,000-seat stadium in the St Mary's area of the city, having been playing in the Dell since 1898. The stadium had been converted to an all-seater format early in the decade, but had a capacity of less than, and was unsuitable for further expansion. During the 1999-2000 season, Dave Jones quit as Southampton manager to concentrate on a court case after he was accused of abusing children at the children's home where he had worked during the 1980s. The accusations were later zone, but having received an offer, he moved to Tottenham Hotspur just before the end of 2001 season. He was by first-team coach Stuart Gray, who oversaw the relocation to the St Mary's Stadium for the 2001-2 season. At the end of the last competitive match at Vidal, Matthew Letitia came on late to score the last ever league goal of the old stadium with half a volley on the turn in a 3-2 win against Arsenal. Gray was sacked after a poor start to the following season, and he was replaced by ex-coach 2002-3 Arsenal after losing 1-0, 23 in the league. Strachan resigned in 2004, and within it, two managers of Paul Sturrock and Steve Wigley had come and gone. Chairman Rupert Lowe risked the ire of the Saints fans when he appointed Harry Redknapp as manager on the 8th of December 2004, just after his resignation of South Coast new signings, including his son, relegated from the Premier League 7 successive seasons in the top 1976 FA Cup final, and since then on a number of occasions in the league, as well as in November 1986 League Cup tie, which cost United manager Ron Atkinson his job. Lowe and South continued to make headlines after former England Rugby World Cup winning coach Sir Clive Wood joined the club, eventually being appointed technical director. To that, I do not know. In November 2005, manager Harry Redknapp resigned, replaced by George Burley. Rupert Lowe resigned as chairman in June 2006, and Jersey-based businessman Michael Wines being spent on transfer. Raziak, which I believe was also a Derby player at one point in the 90s, and Marek Saganowski performed well, and left back Gareth Bale, not Gary, and lost the playoff semi-final to Derby County on penalties. The board sought new Leon Crouch as acting chairman, a role Crouch until the 21st of July 2007. In the 2007-8 season, George Burley, who I think is also related to Derby in some way, revealed that players such as Bale and Kenwyne Jones had been sold to stop the club going into administration, and that failing to achieve promotion had put the club. Burley left the club in January 2008 to take over as Scotland manager and was replaced by Nigel Pearson, who saved the club from relegation. In July 2008, all board members except for one resigned, allowing Lowe and Wilde to return. Wilde is chairman of Southampton Football Club, and Rupert Lowe is chairman of Southampton Leisure Holdings plc. Although Pearson kept the team up, The board did not renew his contract due to financial constraints. Dutchman Jan Poort-Villiet was appointed manager. Financial troubles continued to mount to reduce costs. In January 2009, Poort-Villiet resigned with the club one place from the bottom of the championship, with Mark Watty taking over managerial duties. In April 2009, Southampton was placed into administration. A 10-point penalty was imposed, but as the team was already being relegated due to finishing second from bottom in the Football League, this points deduction had to apply to the 2009-10 season. At the end of May, the club was unable to meet its staff wages and asked employees to wait as a gesture of goodwill. The administrator warned that the club faced an imminent bankruptcy unless a buyer was found. In June, negotiations with two groups of investors, followed by confirmation that the club had been sold to an overseas buyer owned and controlled Libya. Libya brought in Italian businessman Nicola Cortesi to look after the club's business in the control of the new owner. Watty was sacked as head coach, and Alan Pardew was appointed as the new first-team manager. The Saints made their first big signing under Libya striker Ricky Lambert, who was purchased on the 10th of August from League One side Bristol Rovers. Southampton started the 2009-10 season in League One in the third tier of England, and with minus 10 points since 19 United 4-1 at Wembley to claim the EFL trophy. Southampton finished the season in 7th place, 7 points from the last playoff position. A new home shirt was unveiled on the 10th of June 2010 in celebration of the club's 125th anniversary. The design was a YMA kit used in 1885. It featured the new anniversary crest and was without a sponsor's logo. On the 11th of August, it was announced that Libya had died. However, the club's future had been assured and planned for before his death. Pardew was dismissed in August. The club was promoted to the Championship in 2011 as runners-up to Brighton and Hove Albion. Returning to the Championship for the 2011-12 season, Southampton made their best start to a season for 75 years, with a running run at St Mary's of 13 league games, setting a new club record and going top of the league. In April 2012, Southampton achieved promotion to the Premier League as runners-up. Lambert finished the season as the Championship's top goal scorer with 27 goals, his third Golden Boot in 4 seasons. He also won the Champ Award. Southampton returned to the Premier League for the season 2012-13. Initially under Nigel Adkins, sums of money was spent to strengthen the playing squad, but early in the season, Adkins was replaced by Argentine coach Mauricio Pochettino. Southampton finished the season in 14th place, and the next season in 8th. At the end of the 2013-14 season, Pochettino, the club subsequently appointed Ronald Koeman as his replacement on a 3-year contract and made several high-profile sales over the summer. In the final game of the 2014-15 season, a 6-1 victory against Aston Villa, Sadio Mane scored 76 seconds, the fastest hat-trick in the history of the Premier League. The club finished 7th, then their highest ever Premier League, qualifying for the 2015-16 UEFA Europa League. After defeating Vitesse, the Saints were eliminated in the playoffs. The following season, Southampton the club at the end of the season, finishing in 6th place. They won for the Europa League, although this time immediately entered the group stages as opposed to the playoff rounds. In June 2016, he joined Everton, and Claude Puel replaced him on a 3-year contract. The club were eliminated in the group stages stage of the Europa League, but were more successful in the 3-2 in the final to Manchester United. The club ended the 2016-17 season in 8th. During the summer, Puel was replaced as manager by Argentine coach Mauricio Pellegrino, previously the Deportivo Alaves. In mid-season, the club sold Dutch defender Virgil van Dijk to Liverpool for an estimated £75 million. Southampton's record sale and a world record for his position. Pellegrino was sacked in March 2018, with the team 1 point above the relegation zone, and his replacement Mark Hughes guided the club to a 17th place finish, avoiding relegation on the last day of the season. Hughes signed a new contract at the end of the season, but a poor start to the following season led to him being sacked in December 2018, with the team in 18th place. He was replaced with former RB Leipzig boss Ralph Hasenhüttl, who steered the club away from relegation zone to finish 16th. In August 2017, Southampton Football Club confirmed that Chinese businessman Qiao Jisheng had acquiring an 80% stake for around £210 million after successful talks between the Gao family and the South Coast Club. The investment was based Lander family's business arm, which develops, constructs and manages sports sites. Southampton suffered their worst ever defeat on the 25th of October 2019, 9-0 to Leicester City at home. It is tied with Ipswich Town's defeat by Manchester United in 1995 as the biggest defeat since the Premier League's inception. Following universal backlash towards the team's performance, the players and coaching staff refused their wages from the match and instead donated them. That is a very honourable gesture, by the way. On the 9th of April 2020, Southampton became the first Premier League club to defeat. Despite a poor start that saw them in relegation zone as late as November, Southampton improved greatly as the season went on, ending the year with a 7-game unbeaten finish to finish. Their final tally of 52 points was the team's highest total since 2015-16. This strong finish led to Hasenhüttl being named Manager of the Month in July. So, I hope you enjoyed that video about the history of and stuff, or any comments about my new format at the end of the video. Of football clubs is coming on Sunday, and next week certain will be Tottenham, if I'm right in thinking, which I'm pretty certain I am. Sorry about me, but you know. Yes, it is Tottenham. Thought so. Right. Well, see you for joining.